let's talk about probably the only bad thing to come out of this game. Deontay Johnson, everybody saw it. It went viral on social media instantly. People were losing their minds. He's standing around during a fumble, a Jaylen Warren fumble. This comes the play after his non-touchdown, his drop in the end zone is called back. That probably should have been a touchdown. Gene, what's his name? Yes, thank you. Said it was probably a touchdown, should have been called a touchdown. Diontae gets a little upset after that one, puts zero, and I mean zero effort into the next play, which is a Jaylen Warren run to his side. Doesn't even try to block somebody. Then it's fumbled. The cameras catch the Bengals picking up the fumble, and Deontay's just standing there, just walking away, just looking like this, all miserable. Doesn't try to tackle anybody, doesn't try to chase anybody down. Looks real bad. This comes 24 hours after Adam Schefter reports that he and Minkah Fitzpatrick got into it in the locker room after the Browns game because Diontae was freaking out or yelling at some coaches walking into the locker room. Minkah said something. They got heated. They had to be broken up by Cam Hayward and TJ Watt. And now everything is what it is. Diontae, after the game, said that everybody was kind of making a big deal out of the Minkah thing. It is what it is. That happens all the time. I kind of tend to agree with them, but I'll get your opinion on that in a second. Then with the fumble, he says, let me pull the exact quote up here because I'm not going to lie. Like if you were to ask me what you should say afterwards, it probably shouldn't be the words blocking or whatever, but that's what Diontae said. I didn't see it. I was just doing what I was doing, blocking or whatever. I think whatever kind of gave a little, it just opened the floodgates to say everybody can toast this guy. It is what it is because he was definitely doing more of whatever than he was blocking. Do you have any, like, what were your thoughts on the play? What were your thoughts on his reaction? And start with Minkah. You got any issues with the Minkah thing?
No, and we'll get more into this in a second, but like that's passion. That is demonstrated interest to me, like
yes, I agree.
Getting into it with a teammate, even getting into it with coaches. I mean, obviously it's not productive and it's not something that you should probably be doing as a star player, as a team leader, things like that. But I would rather something like that than behavior that or play the kind of way that he did on that fumble.
Yeah.
I mean, look, like I was willing to give him kind of the benefit of the doubt when I first saw it. I was like, oh, maybe he just didn't see it. Like that ball's bouncing around. It's entirely possible that it was unclear to him that the ball had even gotten out. And then by the time, people were running past him, it was too late. No, the more angles you saw of it, the more it looked like it was right in front of his face and he just didn't go for it. And then that on top of the post-game comments, and you're like, man, and then that, and also like, even coming off the ball, he wasn't showing great effort, it was like you said, a run to his side that he's not blocking on. Like I'd be much more willing to give him some grace if he was locked in blocking some guy, if he was engaged right up on a dude and push him around. Like that's easy to understand why he wouldn't see anything, but he wasn't doing that, like, no. And to not even like fake like because even after, guys were already sprinting down the field, he doesn't even give a like, oh, I got to go down, and like before a half jog or something. Like there was nothing there to grab onto, which is pretty not good.
No.
It's just like, it's kind of everything on top of it, like if one of these things happened in isolation, going back to the Minkah thing and then all the way through the fumble play, like you're not very worried, but it's all this stuff happening together in such quick succession that I think really worries you. And that's what kind of makes it not a great look for Diontae.
Yeah, I agree. I think if it's just the Minkah thing, who cares? You say answer one question about it, everybody moves on. It is what it is, because I fully agree. Like, it's passion. This is just two guys or one guy who was really upset about a loss that everybody was upset about, like every single person in that locker room was not great after the Browns game. We saw it. And Diontae lost it for a second. Minkah's a dude who, Minkah's got some fire in him. Everybody remembers, you could throw it back to the Chase Claypool incident in practice. Like, Minkah's got some fight in him. This guy never backs down. He's always going to say something if something needs to be said. And that's a great thing to have, especially for a defensive leader. But those two, they got heated there. I tweeted out a photo of Diontae like celebrating after his deep ball, and in the background is Minka Fitzpatrick with a big smile on his face, like yelling.
Right.
And I'm like, there it is. Like these guys are fine. It's an in the moment thing. It happens all the time between a boatload of players. That's just part of the game. The blocking thing, the fumble thing, that was like, man, if you didn't have Minka there to just, if you didn't have the Minka incident to just add on to it, I still think it'd be bad, because I just like you said, like the lack of effort, the no effort on the blocking is just, there was no try in that attempt at all. Like Diontae looked at that and said, I didn't score a touchdown. Now I'm mad. It is what it is. And like that close to the end zone, I don't care if that should have been a touchdown. You put 100% effort into that, because on the next play, your team could score, and that could be the difference in the ball game. Like it doesn't matter like what the play is, what happened in the situation. The fact that you just gave up on your team is exactly that. You gave up on your team, and that's just not a good look for a guy that is a leader, like you said, in the locker room, a guy that's supposed to be here, kind of help mold George Pickens and Calvin Austin, a guy that both of them look up to. That's just the worst look to possibly have. And yeah, he came back, but like, that's gonna get caught by cameras. You know what I mean? That standing around there in a run to your side, that if it's not us, it's in the film room, somebody's catching you. And Mike Tomlin's not afraid to call somebody out. Like you're getting called out by somebody somewhere along the line for just completely giving up on that drive and that team and that play. I mean, that's bad, man. It was as bad as of a moment as you could probably have on the field for a guy in that situation. And the fact that he's Deontay Johnson, like, you got half the fan base right now that still calls that end zone play a drop. And they're like, oh, Diontae drops in. Like, they're not going to let that go. They're also not going to acknowledge that it probably should have been a touchdown. So you already have people hot at you, and then you're gonna just add on to it and give them fuel to the fire, and a ton of it. Not great. I think we could both acknowledge that Deontay's like, he's a wide receiver. He is a diva. All wide receivers are divas, at least the good ones. These things are unfortunately, they're going to happen. To the degree that it happened, should never happen again. But I also don't expect this to be like a moment where it like derails Deontay Johnson's season or something, or there's issues, or like, I expect him to just bounce back, take the hit, and probably get blasted by Mike Tomlin during film review, and then kind of move on.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think this is a long-term issue. I think it's something that you're obviously concerned about it now, but I think it'll get cleaned up pretty quickly. I think Diontae will kind of realize that, maybe he was being, or maybe he extended his period of, displeasure with the drop touchdown, whatever you want to call it, for a little bit longer than it should have been there, and that he's got to refocus much quicker, or get out of the game, quite honestly, and get his head right before he gets back in there, because they need him. They need him in every kind of part of the game, not just passing, but blocking as well. And just, I think you made a good point too about like look, you're supposed to be mentoring these young guys. I mean, Calvin seems like a pretty mature guy. Seems like he's got his head on straight. George, I think, needs some good examples to look after. Like, this isn't,
agreed.
That's nothing against George, just that he's a younger guy. I feel like he could really benefit from, having guys in front of him who are good mentors and demonstrating good leadership and everything like that. So it's not just kind of, this reflects poorly on Diontae, but I think, you just can't let it get beyond this. You can't let your top wide receiver set an example like this, because if he does that, what's to kind of stop George Pickens or even Calvin Austin or anyone else from kind of saying, well, if Diontae doesn't have to give effort on every play, why should I?
Yep.
That's just the kind of precedent you set when you do stuff like that, and you just can't let it expand beyond this moment. Because right now it's an innocent enough mistake. He's going to get blasted for it, but as long as you don't make the same mistake twice, it's a non-issue.
I agree. It is half the reason that the Steelers traded away Chase Claypool, which is, concerning. But at the same time, I don't look at Diontae and Chase as the same, even in the same room of the same person. So I think these are just stay calm and just look at it as a strike, but don't look at it as anything more than that.